In summary task 3, you'll create a cartographic and or a photorealistic 3D visualization of Riverbat Park. First, you'll create and configure a cartographic scene. Then you'll add and configure 2D and then 3D layers. And last, optionally, you'll create and configure a photorealistic scene. All right, back in ArcGIS Pro, I want to insert a new local scene. So I'm going to click on the Insert ribbon and then the New Local Scene button and select that. And that creates a new local scene. I want to start by renaming my new local scene. So I'll right click and go to the properties. And under general, we're going to go ahead and rename this new scene as 3D visualization and update the background color as a sky blue or light blue. I want to confirm that the coordinate system is set to our local state plane coordinate system with the WKID 2277. There you can see it right there, NAT 83 State Plane, Texas Central. And then for illumination, under shadow, I'm going to check display shadows in 3D. And under absolute sun position, I want to set the altitude to something like 70 degrees, 60 or 70 degrees, so the shadows are cast a little bit down into the side. Go ahead and click OK. That's renamed our local scene to 3D visualization. Once the local scene refreshes, I want to zoom down on Texas and Austin, and then on the ACC Highland campus. All right, now I can see our site for the proposed park at the bottom of the scene. I'm going to change the perspective so I can see the horizon and our updated background color. Once my scene refreshes, now I want to update the ground. So in the contents panel, I'm going to right click on ground and select add elevation source layer. And then in my project geodatabase, I'm going to select DEM_proposed and click OK. And that overrides the world elevation 3D ground with the DEM proposed just for our proposed development site. If I zoom in, I can see the depression where the proposed drainage quality pond is going to go. It's a little faint from this angle, but we'll see it a little bit later from a different angle. Go ahead and reset my interface and now activate the map ribbon. And under base map, I want to select 3D base map topographic. And that's going to lay in 3D buildings and trees. There you can see the drainage pond a little more clearly in the ground layer. Now, if you notice the places and labels at the top, they're a little bit overkill for our scene, so I'm going to turn those off. And then now reposition my scene. All right, now we're ready to add our cartographic layers. So over in the catalog pane, I'm going to select and add the boundary, contours, creek, fountain basin, fountain jet, grass, lake, and trail feature classes. So with them all selected, I'm going to right click and say add to map or just drag them in and drop them. They add to our 3D visualization local scene under the 3D layers group. I want them in the 2D layers group. So with them all selected, I'm going to drag them down into the 2D layers group because I want them to drape on the ground. And then once my map refreshes, I need to update my layer symbology. First, the layer order. I'm going to drag the boundary all the way to the top, the trail just below the boundary, and the creek just below the trail. I'm going to drag the fountain basin above the contours layer. And then now I'm ready to update my symbology. And I'll start with the boundary feature layer. Go ahead and click on the symbol patch. And then in our draft sketch symbology, I want to select outline heavy. For the trail symbol, I'll select trail. For the creek symbol, waterline LOD1. For the fountain jet, asterisk. For the fountain basin, fountain. For the contours, I'll select line light. For the lake, water area. And for the grass feature layer symbology, I'll select grass. All right, go ahead and let the local scene refresh. Close the symbology pane. Now I'm going to reposition my view and save my ArcGIS Pro project. All right, now we're ready to add some 3D layers. So over in the catalog pane, I'm going to select bridge, trees, and wall feature classes and add them to my local scene. They add in the contents pane listed under the 3D layers. I want to reorder the layers so that the wall draws first, then the bridge, and then the trees. And now I'm ready to update the symbology. So I'm going to click on the wall symbol patch and update it as walkway adjustable. For the bridge, I'm going to use the same walkway adjustable symbol. And then now I want to add some volume to my wall and bridge layers. So I'm going to reposition my view to where the creek goes into the lake. And then now in the contents pane, I'll select the wall feature layer, and under feature layer and extrusion, click on the type and select base height. And for the actual extrusion value, I'm going to click on the extrusion expression button and enter in 0.5, which is a half foot or 6 inches, and it's going to give it just enough volume to look like it's containing the pond. That looks great. Now I'll do the same for the bridge. So I'll select the bridge feature layer and then set the extrusion type to base height. This time I'm going to extrude the bridge down into the ground, so a negative 0.5 or 6 inches. All right, that looks really great. Now I want to update my 3D tree symbology. So I want to first right-click the trees layer and open the properties. And then under elevation, set the features on the ground. And then for display, under display symbols and scene, I want to set them to real world units and go ahead and click OK to apply my changes. There you can see my symbols draw on the ground. I'm going to change the primary symbology for the trees to unique values. And then I'm going to update the symbol patch. By clicking on it and then clicking on more options and vary symbology by attribute. I'll set the vary symbology by attribute size field to height. And there you can see it's changed my symbols by height. Now I'm going to return to the primary symbology pane and set the field 1 to type. and that symbolizes my trees by deciduous and evergreen and by height. I'm going to click on More and disable Show All Other Values and click on the deciduous symbol patch and then search for deciduous. And under 3D Vegetation Thematic, select American Sycamore. Click back. Click the Evergreen symbol patch. And again, search for Evergreen. In the 3D Vegetation Thematic, this time I want to select Western Juniper. All right, go ahead and close the symbology pane. Now my scene has a little bit more volume and depth with my extruded walls and bridge and my trees that are symbolized by height and type. Go ahead and reposition your scene. All right, that looks really great. Beautiful cartographic 3D visualization of my proposed part. Go ahead and reset your interface and save your ArcGIS Pro project. All right, now you can proceed to summary task 4, create deliverables, or optionally, you can complete task 3D, create and configure photorealistic scene. Now, I'm not going to do this in the video, but if you do this, my suggestion is in the catalog pane, expand the map section, and then right-click 3D visualization and select duplicate to create a duplicate local scene of which you would then create your photorealistic scene by following the statement of work. In Summary Task 4, you'll create your project deliverables, including an executive summary that describes your findings, a map series that includes an existing conditions, proposed development, and 3D visualization map, and an ArcGIS Pro project package that includes your project data. Referring to Summary Task 4, create deliverables in the statement of work, you'll begin by writing a 1 to 2 page executive summary that describes and narrative the steps you used in the GIS analytical process to perform your 3D analysis and visualization. Your executive summary should describe the question or questions you are trying to answer, identify the data you collected and assimilated to support your analysis, describe your approach for performing the analysis, describe your results, including findings like net material loss and/or gain and lake volume, and present the analysis as a series of maps. When writing your narrative, please be sure to write in the active voice, write efficiently, and write in a conversational tone. And as always, I suggest that you read your narrative aloud. If it sounds funny, rewrite it. Your map series should include 3 8.5 by 11 Adobe PDF maps, including an existing condition map, a proposed development map, and a 3D visualization map. You can vary the map scale and extent for the 3D visualization map, but all maps in the series should include layers with intuitive names and the following consistently positioned map elements: title and subtitle, strategic labels like Airport Boulevard and East Koenig Lane, a legend with intuitive item descriptions, a north arrow and scale with an intuitive divisional unit, except for you shouldn't put a scale on the 3D Viz map because the scale in the foreground will be different than the scale in the background. You should include callouts with quantified findings, and last, a source note describing who made the map, for whom, and when they made it. You should package up your executive summary and your 3 maps into a single multi-page Adobe PDF document using the standard naming convention described in the statement of work. In addition to your multi-page Adobe PDF, you should submit your finalized project geodatabase. It should be clean, organized, utilize standardized names, and include feature class and raster dataset level metadata. It should include all of the project existing and proposed feature classes, digital terrain model terrain datasets, and digital elevation model raster datasets in a NAT 83 state plane Texas Central Zone feet coordinate system. You should submit your finalized ArcGIS Pro project and geodatabase as an ArcGIS Pro project package using the standard naming convention listed in the statement of work. When packaging your project, be sure to check Share Outside of Organization and uncheck Include Toolboxes and History Items. Your merged Adobe PDF with Executive Summary and Map Series and the ArcGIS Pro project package should be saved as a WinZip archive, again using the standardized naming convention listed in the statement of work, and uploaded to the course website. As you're finalizing your project, be sure to review the grading rubric on the last page of the statement of work. Compare your project deliverables against each of the grading criteria, make any revisions, and then submit your finalized project to the course website by the due date.